In this section I will cover the types of contracts and agreements that are involved in the games industry. The first type of contract is an employment contract. This is an agreement between an employer and an employee, which defines their employment rights and responsibilities. These are the terms of the contract, which is made as soon as you accept a job offer. A written contract can help resolve any disputes between an employer and employee and help an employee understand their employment rights. Both the employer and the employee are bound to the contract until it ends, or the terms are changed through mutual agreement. Although an employment contract doesn't have to be in writing, the employee is entitled to a written statement of the main terms within 2 months of starting work. The second type of contract is the development contract. When a game is being made, the game publishers hire game developers to create it. The terms of development deal are outlined in a development contract. The terms of the contract explain how much the developers will be paid by the publishers, how much time the developers have to make the game, and if there will be any royalties. The contract will also cover ownership, explain whether the publisher or the developer owns the intellectual property. Finally, warranties are also covered in the contract. The developers are not permitted to use anyone else's source code, and the publisher has to have the right to ask the developer to create the game in question. A license agreement is needed when a publisher wants to make a game based on an intellectual property owned by another company or studio. A good example of this is LEGO Marvel Superheroes. The publisher, Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment, will have had to ask Marvel for permission to use their characters and locations in the game. The contract will spell out the terms of the agreement, stating what the developers, in this case TT Games, can and can't do with the IP. The contract will also specify which platforms the publisher has the rights to publish the game on, as well as the territories the game can be published in. Although publishers want worldwide rights, they will often have to pay the licensors more for this. Finally, the contract will also cover the time span of the agreement. License agreements tend not to run for more than 5 years. Non-disclosure agreements exist to protect sensitive information. Signing a non-disclosure agreement means you agree not to divulge any information shared with you by other people involved in the contract. If information is leaked, then the affected party can claim a breach of contract. This kind of agreement can help the creator of a new IP maintain the patent rights. In many cases, if a new invention is announced to the public, then patent rights may become void. Non-disclosure agreements make clear what information is confidential and what isn't. In 2002, an alpha build of Doom 3 was leaked onto the internet by employees inside graphics card maker ATI Technologies. This was a huge breach of an NDA with the game creators, ID Software, as the game wasn't due to be released until 2004. However, in this case, there was no huge impact on the development of the game, and although unhappy about the leak, ID Software designer Christian Antko said, on a positive note, people seem to really like the leak. Collaboration agreements are common when developing indie games. This type of agreement outlines who owns the intellectual property, how the project is managed, how any income is handled, the intended use of the game, and how the termination of the project is to be handled. Both indie game developers and big companies often use this type of agreement. For example, Activision created Call of Duty Ghosts in collaboration with the main development company, Infinity Ward, who also works with Raven Software, Neversoft, and Certain Affinity, with the Wii U version of the game being handled by Treyarch. Intellectual property is something that you physically create and is unique. An idea alone does not qualify as intellectual property. It has to be physically created, for example, written down, or a prototype needs to be created. IP is protected by law. For example, patents, copyright, and trademark allow people to earn financial benefit or recognition for their creations. 4 members of an international hacking ring were charged with the theft of over $100 million worth of software and data related to the Xbox One and Xbox 360 consoles and other technologies, as these intellectual properties were protected by copyright laws. Copyright is a type of intellectual property which provides the creator exclusive rights to publication, distribution, and usage of the property. Anyone else who wants to use the property must have permission from the creator. Copyright protection usually lasts for the life of the author plus 50 to 100 years. In most countries, copyright protection is automatic, so if any original content is, for example, posted on the internet, it is automatically protected by copyright laws. Authors can also register copyrighted material with a central agency, making it easy to prove ownership of the content should a dispute arise. Trademark is a symbol used to identify that the product with which the trademark appears originates from a unique source.
following trademark symbols can be used. This is an unregistered trademark and used to promote or brand goods. This is an unregistered service mark and used to promote brand services. This is a registered trademark. Usually a trademark is a name, word, phrase, logo, symbol, design, image, or a combination of these. For example, the Xbox logo is a registered trademark. The owner of a registered trademark may take legal action on trademark infringement to prevent the unauthorized use of a trademark. Patent refers to when someone has exclusive rights to a new invention. It is a type of intellectual property, and in most countries, the exclusive rights granted to a patentee prevents others from making, using, selling, or distributing the patented invention without permission from the owner. The World Trade Organization's Agreement on Trade-Related Aspects of Intellectual Property Rights states that patents should be available in World Trade Organization member states for all inventions in all fields of technology, with the term of protection being a minimum of 20 years. However, many countries don't allow the patenting of things such as business methods and computer programs. A registered design is a monopoly right for part of or a whole product, based on its overall design, i.e. its shape, materials, textures and patterns. When a design is registered with the Intellectual Property Office, it gains extra legal protection. You acquire exclusive rights to make, use and stock any item which incorporates your design and may take legal action against anyone who infringes on this right. To register a design, the product must be original, have individual character, not be offensive, and not make unpermitted use of certain unprotected flags or international emblems.
Violence in video games is one of the most debated aspects of gaming. Many argue that violence in video games can have an impact on younger, more influential minds. Others argue that any extreme cases of violence committed by someone who plays video games has nothing to do with the games and that the person is to blame. Aaron Alexis killed 13 people at Washington's Navy Yard and carried a handgun everywhere he went as he believed people would try to steal his belongings. Alexis played games, including Call of Duty, for up to 16 hours a day, which his friends believe is what could have pushed him over the edge. However, Alexis had a history of violence, so the games may not be to blame, or they may have just triggered what was already there. The Pan-European Game Information, or PEGI, age rating system was introduced to help parents in deciding what games they should allow their children to play. Another widely used rating system is BBFC, the British Board of Film Certification, which rates both games, films and television. These ratings are a good example of why some controversial aspects of games, like violence, should be allowed to be included, even though they may influence children, as parents should not allow their children to play rated 18 games if they don't feel the content is suitable. Education in video games can be two very different things. Positive education is usually implemented in games specifically designed to educate, such as brain training games. Negative education is when a game teaches violence, racism or other ethical issues to the player. Stereotyping is a common issue in games as they have always focused more on men than women. However, more men play video games than women, which is what influences this. Although characters like Lara Croft allow players to play as female characters, they are usually portrayed with extreme bodily proportions. Stereotyping can also be involved when depicting different races or different ways of life. Addiction is used to keep people playing a video game. However, playing games for long periods of time can cause an unhealthy addiction. This is a major concern of the games industry. Racism isn't very common in mainstream games, but indie games such as Muslim Massacre 2 and Ethnic Cleansing don't have to adhere to as many rules or regulations, which means that some incredibly offensive games can be created and distributed. UKI, or UK Interactive Entertainment, formerly known as ELSPA, is a non-profit organisation and is the only trade body for the UK's games industry. UKI provides practical support and advice to games companies of any size. IGDA, or International Game Developers Association, is a non-profit organisation with over 12,000 video game developers involved. It exists to advance the careers and enhance the lives of the game developers by connecting members with their peers, promoting professional development and advocating on issues that affect the developer community. Women in games exist to put more focus on female video game characters and players, as the gaming community is mainly focused on male gamers. BAFTA, or British Academy of Film and Television Arts, is the leading independent charity which supports the development and promotion of film, television, video games and interactive media.